Welcome to the Can Innovate podcast. We focus on providing you with timeless professional development secrets and essential business life skills in a mini bite-sized format. I'm unlocking the vault and sharing best practices that management consultants have been using for decades. We're unapologetically curious. Enjoy. Hey, innovators. We are going to talk about the innovator mindset. You know, we keep hearing the same words over and over again. Innovation, innovator, agile thinker, lean startup, design thinking, all about expanding our horizons. But seriously, what does it all actually really mean? I thought we should go back to kind of reset and redefine what innovation is. And honestly, it's really simply means continuous improvement. It's just a new way to produce new value. Now, it's very different than being inventive, which is totally, completely brand spanking new. No one in the world has heard of it. It's, that's inventive. But this is about innovation, taking something existing, refreshing it to provide new ways of thinking, new elements that they may not have seen. This is where we get to unapologetically be curious and look at things with a new set of eyes. So for all those people that say, but it's always been done this way, this is where you get to challenge them and go, and what was the original intent? Why are we doing this? It's really hard because you look at corporations, right? We all have a set of different things that we're supposed to focus on, we're supposed to do, and it's really quite the paradox, It's how do we kind of follow the rules of an organization and their expectations and yet be challenging at the same time. So when I start thinking about this and I think about all of people that are in leadership positions or those that are trying to get promoted, what organizations are looking for, and they're looking for more and more now than ever before, they're looking for those that have a point of view. Those are the ones that actually want to challenge the status norm. They are not looking for the ones that are just going to execute A, B, and C like a checklist. Those types of things can eventually be automated. What they're looking for is someone to see something different and go, why do we do step 2 in this process and step 8 in this process when basically saying the same thing, and it could save us this amount of time? It's as simple as that. That could be seen as something as innovative because they'll be like, wait a minute, why are we doing this? And it allows people to take a pause and a reset. So I get this question quite a bit. How do you train people to think outside the box? It's such a mindset shift, and it's really hard. We grow up, we are expected to do certain things, get married, have kids, get an education, save for the future. But what we don't do is train people to say it's okay to kind of go off course, right? Go and be whatever you need to be. Go and do that. The really best way to really develop thought leaders is to embrace the notion of curiosity. Okay, I've said this a billion times, and seriously, I think one of my books needs to have the word curiosity in there. But what we're talking about is allowing your teams and people around you to develop points of view, challenge that norm, and actually provide them with a valued voice. Now, the challenge is that, and it's quite interesting to me because we know the impostor syndrome has been growing and it's impacting so many individuals. And for those that are unaware what impostor syndrome is, it's basically self-doubt. And we all have this and experience this. In fact, I did a podcast episode, I think it was episode 84, and a blog about how feeling like an imposter is actually a competitive advantage. That's right. You heard me right. Being an imposter and experiencing imposter syndrome is actually a competitive advantage if you use it properly. So I actually have Imposter Let Me Roar. I think that's the name of it. And I actually created a nice free imposter syndrome cheat sheet for you to overcome the self-doubt and really use it to your competitive advantage. Like I said, it is quite the paradox, to be adventurous and overcome imposter syndrome and then also follow the organization's rules and expectations. It's like, what does everyone want from me? And what employers are looking for, what the industry is looking for. You're going to see it all the time. They're looking for someone that has the courage to challenge the norm. So we really need to get moving from the reactive mode to a proactive mode. The challenge is that I don't know about you, but I feel like I never get enough time to think. We're really never given enough time to think. We're scheduling things and over-scheduling things and sneaking these things in. But when do we get to sit back and kind of look at something and kind of go, huh, right? Like, huh, does that even make sense? So I thought what I would do is kind of give you a few tips to help you slowly start to shift a little bit of your thinking, and in a way that it's not too overly, hard. So the innovator mindset, one of the things, like, here's a tip number one. Honestly, embrace the curiosity and become a learn-it-all. Don't be a know-it-all. Nah, there's no such thing as that anymore. No one knows it all. You know what a current process is and a current solution is, or a current, area does, and their scope or whatever it is. But have you learned it all? Because you see, when you learn something, you're thinking back to what is the intent. So explore all those different dimensions and avenues and think about what are all the kind of tools that you have at your disposal. List them out. Don't think about just the traditional stuff. Think about the non-traditional stuff. Yes, there's books and there's podcasts and there's webinars, for sure. But talking to people across different industries, across different practices, departments, divisions, amazing. I actually had a client, and I'm not even sure if I should tell you this, but I actually had a client that put me on a retainer, which basically she paid me a monthly fee for a bunch of hours where she just wanted to talk to me, just to brainstorm. She had a few ideas and kind of just wanted to bounce it off to see if there were some legs and ideas of what kind of works, and, just to kind of think about things. She wanted to have, something that kind of, would be like, hey, but what about this? Or what about that? Oh my God, I could totally see this. And I would give her examples of different things in the industry that was going on and so on. And she would just be like, oh my God, this is amazing. Because then she knew that her idea possibly had traction. And then she could invest a little bit more time because it could be something a little bit more fun to play with. And I also showed her different companies or different industries that are already kind of sort of already doing it. And that is what it is, right? They're trying to learn a little bit more than what they currently have because they want to take it to the next level. So don't dismiss the idea of talking to others and listening to understand where they're thinking and where they're coming from. And again, we forget that the art of a good banter is that allowing just things to flow. Not everything has to be so scheduled and so process driven. So take that time. It might just provide that perfect aha moment when you allow yourself the room to think and actually enjoy the experience. Tip number 2, encourage points of view. I know this sounds really hard and sounds really confusing, and I understand that. A lot of us have a lot of ideas, and we have thoughts and opinions, but we're kind of afraid and maybe even a little bit shunned to actually provide our point of views because it kind of won't be in line with the status quo or what everyone is talking about, right? What we need to do is actually encourage people and reward people for having half-baked points of view, just to have a little bit of courage, just to kind of talk about something. And they will, over time, gain experience and courage to develop fuller points of view. There's no point, like, if you think about a point of view, none of them are perfect. Like, think about all those folks that put out, 2020 trends. No one measures it and goes, oh my gosh, you were wrong, right? Like, the point is that they put out what they think might be happening in that point of view. So it's just an opinion. That's all it is. And having a great opinion is, yes, fantastic. But what starts off with an opinion, you will start to do some research that will support it. But again, just start off with a half-baked idea, whatever it is, and just have that courage to think outside of the norm or even challenge something a little differently. Tip number 3, failure. I get it. Companies and individuals really need to define their tolerance of risk. Like, how far can you go in terms of failure, really, at the end of the day? Because you don't want your boss to put you that you're a rogue person and blah, blah, blah. Now, what I always suggest to all those different people is that really encourage people and really encourage you to test things early with minimal risk. And testing early is having conversations with multiple different types of people, different types of groups, and so on, and just to see. And you know what's interesting about when you start talking to others, and I think there's also this kind of faux pas that we got to keep everything hidden and in vault. The more you talk about certain things, people will start to help you develop the idea further, right? Like, that's crazy, right? You're testing early, you're rejigging things based on the feedback. It's like the perfect way to do a temperature check. Do you remember temperature checks? Before you get in the pool, you put your toe in the water to see if it's hot or too cold before you jump in. That's what we're talking about. So have those conversations and test early to see whether or not it's got potentially some legs. It's kind of like that saying of throwing spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks. And if people get excited about something, then you're onto something that could actually have pretty good value that they have been looking for. Tip number 4, look, whenever I have to do some work or whatever it is, I always offer 3 options. This doesn't matter if it's about a solution, a service, a concept, an idea, a proposal, a recommendation, advice, guidance, whatever it is. I really try to follow the rule of 3. And you know what? I should do a separate podcast episode about the power of 3. But one of the things I love about the 3 options is that it gives your leader something to react to. I don't know how many times I get a question from someone, or a problem from somebody, or an issue from someone, and they have no recommendations, no ideas to present of how we can get over it. This is a great place for you to start to build those skills, because by giving 3 options, it allows you to give, 1, a conservative approach, right? The least risky, the standard norm answer, and allows you to give 2 other types of options. 1 could be a really crazy out of this world approach, right? And the second one could be like the third one could be a hybrid of the 2 approaches, of a conservative one and a crazy one. And one of these crazy ideas, they may go, wait a minute, that's actually interesting. And they will see you as a bit more of a thought leader, that you've got something else to offer. Now, I didn't make all this stuff up. Like, as we've talked about on the podcast, like, management consultants have been using these approach for years, decades. Some of these concepts have been remarketed under the umbrella of design thinking, but these classics and techniques have worked for centuries. This is how we build relationships. This is how we build trust. This is how we do all those things. All marketing does is, the marketeers in the world, is they take a really great concept that's been around for a timeless secret, and what do? They just innovate the name and make it something a bit more glamorous, right? That's what it is. But these are true techniques that you can use in all of your life. You can use it in your professional side. You can use it on your personal side. Think about your relationships. Whenever there's a problem that's actually happening, or an issue and so on, you can talk about a couple of different options, right? One, make the person laugh and it'll diffuse the situation. One, it seems a bit more likely. It's a great technique that allows you to utilize things in multiple places. So with that, I challenge you. What are you interested to learn more about? Like the learn it all, right? What are you really curious about? What have you kind of want to know a little bit more? And honestly, don't worry about that. Don't worry about the fact that you don't know. Don't let that imposter syndrome come and kind of grab you. Remember, imposter syndrome is actually a competitive advantage if you use it correctly. And as truth be told, I have that gift for you. I've got a freebie alert, a cheat sheet. It's a free imposter syndrome cheat sheet that will help you overcome your self-doubt. And I really can't wait to hear your feedback on it. Anyways, I just wanted to touch base, and I really, truly thank you for your time. And if you know someone that can benefit from this episode blog, feel free to share with others. And you can drop me a line anytime. I absolutely love hearing from my listeners. And honestly, if you got ideas or topics, I've got lots to talk about. So anyways, take care for now, and thank you again. Thank you so much for joining and listening to the podcast. If you enjoyed this episode or any other episode, please share with your friends and colleagues. You can share on social media, the email link, the newsletter, and so on. Let's continue to support these Canadian innovators and help them really grow into bigger brands. Awareness and knowledge is totally key. Anyways, I can't wait to talk to you next week. Cheers.